Welcome, true believers and newcomers alike. Spider-Man co-creator Stan Lee here. Once again, we find our hero Peter Parker, better known around the world as the Amazing Spider-Man, in a heap of trouble. But this is just the beginning, Spidey.
Do you ever think about movies, the movies you loved as a kid? When you think about them, you get a certain dose of the right chemicals up in your brain. You take a step back, you take a deep breath, you feel it, you sense it, that nostalgia, that feeling of warmth, of home, of being a kid, of joy. Spider-Man 1, the original movie directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire, is one of those movies for me. I need to talk about something I like, something I love. I love this movie, everything about this movie. It's, like there are certain rose-tinted glasses movies that everyone has that might not be the best, may not be the greatest, full of flaws, but you love it because of what it used to mean to you. This is that movie to me. But in saying that, in no way do I think this is a bad movie at all. I think this is great. And it's a good time to talk about Spider-Man properties because we just got the gameplay reveal of Spider-Man 2 the other day, which looks great. We got Across the Spider-Verse coming out in a week, I think. Good time to talk about Spider-Man. Where do we begin? 2001. This is before MCU, after X-Men. We're in like a weird time. You've had the success of Superman, of Batman. This is before Nolan's Batman. You've had the sort of success of X-Men. X-Men has always been a weird franchise in that they've never felt like they've had a clear and consistent vision and direction. Enter Spider-Man. This is all Sam Raimi. This is campiness. This is Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. This is a comic book movie. It's not afraid to have fun. It's not afraid to be cheesy, and it does not pull any punches when it comes to the emotion and heart of the film. It is an exceptionally well-directed, well-crafted, well-acted, well-scored, fun, emotional film from start to finish. Its pacing is excellent. Its villain is excellent. The fact that Willem Dafoe, at like 60-something years old, returned 20 years later in No Way Home as the main villain and was immensely popular just goes to show how timeless and great his performance was. Tobey Maguire gets a lot of hate. I don't understand why. It's easy to go back and say something wasn't as good as things we have now. And there's always that comparison. And it's such an echo chamber that I hate regarding Spider-Man castings. You always hear it. Oh, Tobey Maguire didn't quip enough. Oh, Tom Holland's the best. He's the funniest. He's the quirkiest. Tom Holland is Spider-Man. Now shut up. Tobey Maguire is a great Peter Parker, a great Spider-Man. The beauty of acting and casting different people is that you get different interpretations of the same thing. That's the beautiful thing about it. Say, for example, you were cast as Spider-Man. You're going to read a line one way. I would read it a different way. Branch that out into a whole film, you get a totally different character, essentially. And that is what Tobey did. Tobey, to me, carries a lot of the emotion, a lot of the heart on his sleeve and delivers a performance that is cheesy, nuanced, and just somber, but with the perfect amount of hope in it. He's a great Spider-Man. He's a dork. And that's why he's so lovable. He is essentially a dork. And it's great.
The Amazing Spider-Man!
My name's the Human Spider.
But in that too also comes some of the biggest criticisms the film has had. They're such non-criticisms to me. Oh, the teenagers in the movie look too old. Yeah, but it's not a criticism. It's if they all look the same age and they're meant to be playing a certain age, you buy it. Where if Tom Holland was going to school with James Franco, you might question it a little bit more, even though they look pretty similar. Then there's the campiness. People criticize how cheesy the movie is, and that's just a subjective view. That's a director trademark. That's Sam Raimi.
He's got big teeth.
So do I.
And compare that with the reviews of Doctor Strange 2 that came out the other year, where everyone in their bullshit reviews was saying, oh, Sam Raimi puts his stamp on the MCU. Even though that movie was bad and there was barely any Sam Raimi in it, this is all him. The transitions, the editing, the sound effects, some of the acting choices, the extras, it's all over the top. It's a celebration of just camp. It is the 60s comic books come to life in their nature and in their soul.
It's Spider-Man!
There is a positivity that radiates from this movie that I find infectious. It's just so wholesome. Oh, and another criticism is that Peter Parker's a homophobe.
What are you doing up there?
Staying away from you. That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
It's a funny joke. It's not homophobia. And there's the memes. How... You know what the true sign in the modern world... A true sign in the modern world of a good movie, of a movie that an audience loves, is it gets memed. Look at all the best memes. They're all from the best TV shows, best movies. If you're getting memed, you're doing something right. And this movie has no shortage of memes. And they know it too. Remember No Way Home? This was such an awesome moment in the cinema.
Our technology is advanced.
I can help you. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
I guess I've talked about the essence of the film, the soul, what the cast brought, what the director brought, but let's actually go into the cast a little more. We've talked about Toby. There's Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane, and I've never loved her, and if there is a criticism I agree with, she doesn't get enough to do, and she always ends up in the same role of screaming and needing to be rescued. She doesn't bring much to the role. Never loved her as Mary Jane. Willem Dafoe is awesome, truly awesome. He's such a character and is quite menacing. And the final battle, which we will get to, is really brutal, and the two actors, Willem Dafoe and Tobey Maguire, sell it. They sell the brutality and everything in between. This is one of those movies pre-MCU where the final battle has a big set piece on the bridge, but then the final battle itself is two dudes beating the shit out of each other in a dark warehouse. And it feels so much more epic than, let's just say, what's a recent Marvel movie? Quantumania. I don't care about that movie at all. I would rather watch two dudes in Power Ranger suits beat the shit out of each other in a warehouse. That speaks volumes to the level of character development and personal drama that was built up in this movie. James Franco as Harry Osborn is a great casting choice. It's too bad they dropped the ball with him going forward, but in the first two movies of this franchise, they're setting Harry up to be a big bad and could have had the best arc in the franchise had it all gone how it should have gone, but it didn't. In this first movie, Harry serves his purpose. He's a snotty, sheltered, rich kid, and I like him. The less said about where James Franco is now, the better, but here in this movie, does a good job. And I guess the really only other characters I need to talk about are Aunt May. She's played well, but safe. Aunt May is Aunt May. She's the warmth, the heart, the guiding light in Peter's life. And Uncle Ben is played to perfection here by Cliff Robertson. I haven't done my research before this review, I've just turned the camera on, but I'm pretty sure that's the actor's name. Wow. When you have real actors that have lived a life, that come into your comic book silly movie and just give themselves over to the material, my God, Uncle Ben's death. I get choked up watching it to this day. It's so pure, emotional and real. Just a few words. Peter, but he's crying, he's shot. Toby's crying. I know that gets memed, Toby crying, but No one looks pretty when they cry. So many modern actors, they try to look sexy when they cry, and this just feels real. And it gets me. And like, you think about how much screen time is shared between these two characters. It's 2 or 3 scenes. And it's a gut punch. I feel it. And that's a good segue into my next point. The music, the score, Danny Elfman's soundtrack is amazing. It is incredible. It's one of my top 10 scores of all time. And you'll notice I'm talking about the music now before I talk about the plot, because that's the importance of a film score. Say it with me, everybody. Film score matters. Film score matters. When you hear that violin, those strings over the Columbia Pictures logo, you know exactly what you're watching, and there isn't another score like it. It stirs something in me where I hear it and it amps me up. The Spider-Man theme, it's emotional, it's dark, it's hopeful, it combines all the tones that essentially is Spider-Man. What does Spider-Man represent? Spider-Man represents perseverance. Spider-Man represents the burden of responsibility. Spider-Man represents the best in all of us, seeing the best in everyone. There's a reason Spider-Man exists in New York. Yes, tall buildings to swing off, but New York is known the world over. You know, I live in Australia, obviously. New York is known, maybe not so much now, but in previous years, known for its melting pot of personalities, cultures, just being quintessentially American. And having Spider-Man exist in that means he can represent all of it and be the best of all of it and bring people together. And that's, going back to the score, I feel that. We all feel those dark days. We all feel those days where we want to be better. We all feel those days where we want to be the hero to somebody. And this soundtrack, starting from its subtle violin scores into its more blaring sounds, just covers it all. It is a perfect Spider-Man soundtrack. And anytime I've seen a review of this series, I've never heard anyone mention the soundtrack, and it frustrates the shit out of me. Composers need more love, man. And I'll tell you, my biggest criticism of No Way Home is they never use it. There's one transition shot where the Spider-Men all meet, where you sort of hear it, but that's it. It's a brilliant score, and like a lot of things that are genuinely good in the movie industry, it gets overlooked. I just wanted to say I love it. And those opening title sequences I will never not watch, because you just get to hear it all the way through. The plot is simple. It is a perfectly executed origin story. We meet our characters, we discover what motivates them, we discover what motivates the villain. We know all the players, their moves on the chessboard, where they want to go, what the stakes are, from beginning to end. There isn't a wasted scene. There isn't over-the-top comedy trying to be funny. There is none of that anywhere. It's just done, written, point to point to point to point, gets you where you need to be, all done in 2 hours. It's tight, it's fun, it's quick, it's effective. Peter Parker's in high school, right? Goes on a science experiment, science field trip, gets bit by a radioactive spider, all in like the first 10 minutes, no wasting time. Comes back home, gets sick, turns into Spider-Man. Cool. He has a crush on Mary Jane. He notices she likes a guy with a bit of money. How's he gonna get money? Well, I'll look through the paper, and the paper, everybody, is how we used to look at things. Anyway, looks through the paper, sees a car he wants, sees how much it costs, needs to get money. Let's do wrestling. Uncle Ben needs to talk to Peter. Peter, he's gotten in a fight at school. He's changing. Let's talk to Peter, have a heart-to-heart. Peter blows him off, wins the wrestling, gets screwed over, doesn't get his money.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
Goes back to get picked up by Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben's shot, leading Peter to chase down the murderer and accidentally kill him too. Now, this is set up for Peter. We've heard it. With great power comes great responsibility. That sticks with him. Peter, sitting on top of a skyscraper overlooking the city with the music playing, thinking about it all. He's taking it all in. What is it? Who am I? He's got this great power. He caused Uncle Ben's death, essentially. What do I do now? He becomes Spider-Man, a symbol of hope to save people. But then, in becoming Spider-Man, he attracts the attention of the Green Goblin. They both risen to power at the same time. And then it just becomes a sort of cat and mouse, who's who, going after each other sort of situation until the movie ends. And this is what I really want to talk about, is the ending. The fight in the warehouse is so brutal. And here's clips of it now. There's no musical soundtrack behind it. It's just punches and grunts and coughs and blood. It is a great fight. And, you know, I would have been 3 watching this movie, because I do remember... You might think, bullshit, you don't remember seeing this. I don't remember seeing it, but I can remember going to the movies to see it because I remember the big poster next to the theater door. So I'm 3 years old watching this, and this shit kicks ass. Bring back grittiness and blood and stakes, man. I want to see people get hurt in movies again. I am sick to death of seeing people just wiping off shots to the face and people being invincible now. No one's invincible in real life. We can't relate to any of these new characters. Bring back this. This fight stands the test of time because it's all practical. I think it's fantastic. There's no CGI in this fight at all. Movie making at its best, in my opinion. There's not much more I need to talk about with this movie. We've talked a lot. The plot is simple. Peter falls in love with Mary Jane. She falls in love with him. He walks away from her at the end, which, you know, God, if you've ever been a man with unrequited love, you finally get to that and you walk away. Just shows the growth of Peter. From a kid that just wanted to get a car to impress her, to having her and walking away because he has a bigger responsibility in life. Wow, that's a character. That is powerful. What else is there? Oh, I forgot to mention J.K. Simmons. Perfect casting. Obviously, they brought him back. I love the bit at the end where Willem Dafoe, you know, he's unmasked as Norman Osborn and he's talking to Peter in Spider-Man and he's like, I could be a son to you. And then that's when Peter says, I had a father. His name was Ben Parker. Don't you just love that? How throughout the whole movie, there are themes and underlying messages, setups and payoffs, things called back that mean things later on. But this leads to one of the great things where Norman just goes, Godspeed, Spider-Man. He presses the button and then his glider comes shooting at him 100 miles an hour and he just goes, oh. Oh. Impaled through the balls, through the nuts. He says, don't tell Harry. A very violent death. That sets up Harry's hatred for Spider-Man in the next movie. I love that this film, it didn't just do what it had to do, which was, you know, give us a Spider-Man versus Green Goblin movie. It set up its world and its characters for the future. It's an incredible film. I love, to conclude this video, I love its mix of heart, darkness, somberness. The heart is what's on display here at best. If I could sum up the first 2 movies in this franchise with one word, what they do best, it's they present heart. Everybody on Earth can relate to these characters, feel these characters, and relate to everything. It's a universal movie. The themes are universal. The story is. The character of Peter Parker is everybody. I love this movie. I don't do number ratings, but it's high. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I will talk about the second one very soon. That's an even better movie, and if you've seen my top 10 movies of all time list, it's up there. This is a campy, cheesy, early 2000s product of its time, but to me stands the test of time because In this day and age where movies are built on a conveyor belt without personality, without heart, what are you more likely to go back to? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania or Spider-Man 1? So everybody, that's the video. That's my review. Tell me what you think. Do you like Spider-Man? I've seen a lot of videos out there trashing this trilogy unfairly, you know, I mean, nitpicking it, retroactively talking shit about it, which is not fair. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me what your favorite scenes are. And tell me what you disagree with, because I'm sure we're not all on the same page, so I want to know. Tell me that down below. And as always, have a good day, and bye-bye now.